I got into winemaking after touring Fresno State. I was transferring there to start college, and we did a tour of the winery, and just knowing that it's one of the few colleges they can actually go and grow grapes and make wine and see the whole process and even, market it and sell it was just fascinating to me. And I kind of went home and thought about, like, how do you not take the opportunity to do something so unique like that? And I had already been working in the service industry and had started to get really familiar with wine and just the romance of it all. Like, there's a wine list, you can order it by the glass and the bottle and serving it. And so I loved all of that part of it. And, to be honest, when you think about going into winemaking, you kind of think it's going to be this very romantic endeavor. And then as you get into it, you see that it's not all of that, but it's still really fun and amazing, and there's nothing else in the world like it. So I started out as a wine major at Fresno State. I did that for a little bit, and then I actually liked the appeal of the viticulture side. So I changed my major and I switched over to viticulture, and I actually graduated with my viticulture degree from Fresno State. And I took an internship in winemaking just to see what the winemaker would want from the vineyard, so I could just be a real well-rounded viticulturist. And I ended up falling in love with the harvest part of it, which is crazy. And they kept me on and asked me to be a winemaker where I was before, and I just kept progressing through my career and moving up as different positions in the wine industry, and I loved it, and so I'm still doing it today. I think being a female in this industry can be challenging. It is very male dominated, and there are a lot of times where I've walked into a room and I have been the only female. And I think the way that I have, thrived in that environment is I show up every day and I do the work, and I don't think there's anyone that I've worked with in this industry that could say that I don't do that. I also think that females just make great winemakers in general. We're extremely talented in multitasking, and I think a lot of that comes from, our personal lives in running a household and being a mom and holding down a job. All of that kind of really translates when you're in a winery, because as a winemaker in the cellar, everything goes through you. So constantly coming to you for questions and thoughts and how do we do this and how do we achieve this? There's a lot of decisions made every day consistently, and I think that being able to wear multiple hats and multitasking is something that women do really well, and I think that helps us in this industry. My mentor, who's male, also said that winemakers that were female were some of his best winemakers, because we also have a really great sense of smell compared to men. And a sense of smell while making wine is really, really important, especially in the early stages when we're in fermentation and catching stuff like stress early on of the yeast and blending. It's really important to kind of have that honed in, and I feel like from my experience, and myself included, that we just kind of have that edge over a male winemaker. The most challenging part of being a female winemaker is how crazy it is, and juggling all of that with your personal life. So especially if you're a mom and a wife and a friend, and juggling all of that with how crazy, especially during harvest, winemaking is. I think some of the other challenges are being in a male-dominated industry and not having as much representation as the male side would. But I will say that the females I have worked with in this industry have all been amazing, strong women, and it is definitely an elite group that I am very proud to be a part of, because like I said, we just tend to every winery I've ever worked at, us females just bond together and get it done, and I think that is truly an amazing part. I think the most rewarding part of being a winemaker is just seeing all your hard work go into the bottle and get to the shelf. It's not an easy trek to get there. You have to start obviously a year in advance. It takes a whole year to even get it in the bottle. And it's a lot of work and sweat and sleepless nights. And then you just see it on the bottling line being bottled, and it's just amazing that you get to see all that hard work and stress just look so perfect and beautiful. And I hope when the consumer tastes it that they appreciate it, but they also don't know all the hard work that went into it, if that makes sense, that it just tastes like it was effortless. But I think that's the part that is the best, is the most rewarding, is just seeing all your hard work, finished and pretty in a nice little bottle and label. My favorite wine to make is rosé, and even though I say that, I know I also curse rosé when I'm making it because it is hard. But again, it's just very rewarding. And so once you finally nail that perfect color and balance, And I think that's the hard part, is getting the color you want, but also the balance. I think that part to me is so rewarding, and once I finally get it perfect and it's in the bottle, it looks great, I'm like, oh, I loved making that. But during the process of making it, I probably complain more than I appreciate it, but after we're done, I love it. I think the difference at working at Quady versus other wineries is that what we make is so unique, and no one else in the world makes that. And part of what I love about winemaking anyways is just all the uniqueness of it. Every year is different, every vintage is different, every lot is different, you know, vineyard, bottle, everything is slightly different. And so that part I already loved. So to come to Quady and just have that uniqueness of what we make and what we put out there has just been so much fun, and I love it. And I love our winery in general, just everything is unique about it. Our cellar, our staff, you know, it really does feel very family here, and so that part has been very different from other wineries that I've worked at. I love that we're just not cookie cutter. We're different, and we stand out, and no one else makes exactly what we make. And so for me, that has kept me on my toes, because I've made a lot of wine and a lot of different styles, and to come here and have to learn this style and this technique has been really fun. And I think that keeps you young, when you keep having to learn and you never quite figure it out, and that's how wine is in general. So coming here and having to learn a whole new style has been a really awesome experience for me.